So I understand resilience as the potential of a person or of a system or of an organization to be able to absorb shocks and to return to its, to be able to continue to do basic functioning and to be able to return back, to spring back to what it's able to do. It doesn't mean that things have to be unchanged. It does mean sort of the opposite of rigidity and brittleness. It implies to me, and it means to me, that you have resources, that you have access to it, that you're able to mobilize them either as an individual or as a system or as a community to be able to respond to a shock, to absorb it in some way, and to change things, to be able to shift the way things happen inside a system, to be able to keep going and to return back to a good level of functioning that allows you then to continue to resist and to absorb shocks. So what does that mean in practice? Is that that you're not sort of completely at the limits of your capacities all the time. That means that there is some there are reserves, and that there's enough diversity in the system and enough interconnection so that if there's something that shocks one part, it doesn't shatter all the rest of it, but that rather other parts of the system can respond.
To me, the resilience is the sustainable health system and healthcare delivery, especially for some of the unexpected shocks and the disaster.
Through the Rebuild project, we looked at resilience in health systems in Eastern Cape and South Africa that are facing chronic stress and chronic underfunding. And some of the ideas that came out as really important there were around leadership and about the ability to mobilize resources and mobilize reserves. It did also mean that you needed to have those competencies and the reserves, both in terms of the supplies and the equipment and the people and the capacities of the people. In violent or conflict or post-conflict settings, such as northern Nigeria or such as northern Uganda and South Sudan, it means that there's an ability to mobilize alternative routes, that there are collateral pathways, so that if the typical way of getting resources or money or drugs or staff in is blocked, that you're able to find other ways of doing that. And that means that people have to be able to think, and that people have to be engaged and motivated enough in the system to want to and to be able to think differently and act differently.
We were trying to understand the implication of policy and implementation gap on resilience, actually creating resilience and also creating how policies play out. And so what we have here is basically to try and look at things that leads to gap and how that had led to some form of resilience in the system as a health institution, the structures that are available, the human beings who actually provide healthcare, and also the people who are supposed to benefit from healthcare. And then we found that issues around collaboration, if not well looked after, can create some form of resilience, but people also adapt to change. When you make policy reforms or you make new health policies, you are introducing change into the system, and this can lead to unintended consequences because people change alongside these new reforms. And it's a matter of thinking about how that affects the resources that are available, how that affects the human beings that are available, as well as how that affects those who are intended to benefit from these policies.